Hello, fellow investors. Welcome to Nordic Finans, where we help you realize your financial goals.
So if that is something you find interesting, please invest in the subscribe button and deposit a like on the video. My name is Marcus.
And I'm Lucas, and today we are talking about how to deduct holding fees in Finland.
So basically the fees that you pay, for instance, for holding index funds or any funds for that matter in Finland, you can actually deduct in omavero or vero, and we will show you how to do that today so that you're not just paying down for holding funds, you can actually deduct them then later in your taxes.
So this is basically an easy way for you to pay less capital gains tax, which includes a number of things such as dividends,
selling shares,
and even apartments, right? Even rental.
Yeah, even
income.
There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so this is going to be a really great video showing you how you can pay less tax on that. And before we get into today's video, let us know down in the comments below what are the things you currently pay capital gains tax on, or why would you want to lower your capital gains tax. Personally, I don't pay too much of it, but that's because I'm so new at investing, but the situation is probably different for you. So, holding fees, what is that, Marcus?
Yeah, so holding fees are basically the fees you pay for having an index fund. I think that all of us have seen it if you've looked on index funds. For instance, if you got inspired by our videos and bought something on Nordnet, you can see that all funds are not free. Even though it's not actively managed, you do pay a certain fee for just having this fund. And this fee is generally paid annually. And it can be either, in my case, it was actually deducted from one of my accounts, but in some cases it's deducted from your position in the fund to pay this fee. And now Lucas has brought up through Nordnet, one of our favorite brokers, he has picked a fund here. And this fund does have a fee. This is generally not good. We have spoken in length about avoiding as many fees as possible. Sometimes you can't avoid them though. So it's good if you at least can deduct them. You can see here that Lucas is hovering the 39 juoksevat kulut.
And this is like 0.39%. So for developing markets, which this is, it's quite a good fee. Quite a low, nice fee.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. These fees can sometimes be a lot higher, like almost up to 5%. And this can add up a lot if you have a large position invested, for instance. So you really want to take advantage of filing that tax deduction if you can, because you can deduct these sort of holding fees that you pay just for having index funds. So now that we know that we have a 39% fee here, we could go to omavero and deduct it. Sadly, we don't have an actual number here right now.
Marcus, can you tell me real quickly, because I'm actually a bit curious of this. How am I supposed to keep track of this? Because this has been different since I keep buying into this fund. Like, how am I supposed to be able to know what actual sum I can deduct?
This is a very good question, and in my case it has been relatively simple. Usually the broker or the bank actually contacts you and tells you what this fee was. Sadly, we have not found this for Nordnet yet, so we are not sure what Lucas would have to pay. But in general, this amount is provided by either your bank or your broker, and that is the amount that you can pay because it's the actual fee. So it will be provided either in some sort of account statement. Some banks sent out letters, for instance, with this fee. There is ways of finding it out, for sure. But you don't have to calculate it yourself. That is the important part.
Exactly. Good. I just wanted to make that clear. When you have found out the specific sum, then you can go to omavero, which is, of course, the government's site for where to pay your taxes.
Yeah, now that we are in the main page, you can select under activities, tax returns and tax information. And then you need to select the year you paid the fees for, which in this case would be 2020. And then you can select the prepayment and additional prepayment. Now you can also do a filing in the sense that if you have the same fees every year, Vero is actually probably gonna consider these fees when making your tax declaration. So unless they change, you can actually just keep them as is. But in case there are changes, for instance, you buy a new fund and you get new fees, then you need to report it. And it's always good to report it beforehand so that you actually get this tax deduction in the current year's tax deduction.
Okay, so now I pressed, let's just jump back real quick. So now I pressed prepayment and additional prepayment.
Yep.
And then what?
And then you can report corrected income and deductions, because you want to report the deduction so that you will get a lesser capital gain tax for this year. Now you're in the declaration page, but we don't really care about the background or anything like that for this video. Instead, we want to look at the other deductions under the fourth.
But let me just clarify, when you're going to do this for real, you're going to have to fill in all of these, right?
Yeah, but actually it's usually pre-filled. So if you need to change something, you can change it at the same time. But if the only thing you have are the deductions for the funds, for instance, then that is all you need to fill in.
Okay.
But of course you can fill in whatever else you want at the same time if you have other things to fill in here.
Okay, great clarification.
Yeah. And then you go a little down. Here you can see, for instance, that you can deduct also interest on loans, which can be really important for homeowners and students if they have student loans. But go further down. We're not going to cover that right here.
Yeah, but if you bought an apartment, so we might do something on this in the future as well.
Okay, so now that you have found the expenses for management of securities, now this page can also be in Finnish or Swedish. So at first I didn't actually notice it because I saw it in Swedish, but you need to find the equivalent in Finnish or Swedish for expenses for management of securities. So this is the holdings fee that you want to deduct. That's a management of a security. So you press yes.
So here you just have to fill in the total amount of management expenses during the entire year. Can you tell us some of the things that count to this? Just like give us a few examples.
I can tell you a few, but I don't want to tell you too much either, because I'm not entirely sure all the kind of things you can fill in. I'm sure it could be all number of things. For our purposes, we're going to focus on the index fees because I think the index funds fees and holding fees, because these are in general, I think that our viewers would mostly have fees for just holding funds or securities. Another example I deducted this year was the DEGIRO has a fee for just investing into different types of stock exchanges. And this one I deducted as well because it's a fee for just having securities, for instance. What you cannot deduct here, maybe this is a better example of what you cannot deduct. That is, you cannot deduct like any sort of transaction fees or fees that tie to a specific stock, just for trading a specific stock. Neither can you deduct like a fee if you paid something for getting this fund. You cannot deduct that here either. What you can deduct is like any fee that you have for just holding the fund. So any kind of passive fees that you have to pay every year, for instance. So not upon trade, but upon hold.
Yeah, which is why it's called management. Okay, so I just put in 100 for an example. I'm not going to complete the process, but then if I am correct, now you can just press next.
Yes.
I guess you can just jump to the very end as well if there's nothing else you want to fill in. So
just check in the summary that it's correct.
Yeah, so in the preview and send, you're going to see the whole thing.
And there you have it, under deductions. So now this will be deducted from your capital gains. Now you haven't actually reported any capital gains. But in case you had, for instance, gains from selling stocks, this would now be deducted, or at least part of it, in this year. One thing to add is that if you have less than 50 euros in these deductions, they will not actually be counted because there's like a self-risk of 50 euros. But as soon as you get above that 50 euros, then it will start counting. So for instance, if you have 100 euros, all 100 of it would actually be deducted.
Okay, and let's just clarify real quickly. So why does this matter? How does deductions work?
Because you can lower your profits through using these expenses for management. So even if, for instance, like me, you're trading some stocks, if you hold funds, you can actually use the fees that you pay for these funds in order to lower what you have to pay for shares, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, so what this is basically, you don't actually lower your profits, or they have already been lowered because of your actions. So this is just that you legally show why your profits are lower than what they might first seem to be.
And one final thing, remember to enter all of your management fees before submitting. So if Lucas would submit right now, he would only get the 100 and he could not enter any more than this. So please remember to enter all of your, for instance, fees that you have had from different kinds of fund at the same time and then submit.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It was not that difficult to fill in. So just one step, and you need to get the information from either the bank or the broker, preferably, not calculate it yourself, and then you submit.
We're coming to the end of today's episode. I hope you got some value out of it. Just to quickly recap, we talked about how to deduct holding fees from your capital gains in order to pay less tax if you live in Finland. Mm-hmm. And we showed you when this is relevant and also how to do it on Omavero step by step. So hopefully you got a lot of value out of this. And if you did, please invest in the like button and remember to comment, remember to deposit and subscribe to us. Do you have anything to add, Marcus?
No, I think that's it. I hope you got some value out of this and that you can use this in your investing journey and to lower your taxes a little bit.
Please leave your feedback, further questions and suggestions for more videos in the comments below. And as usual, I want to wish you guys happy investing and happy tax deduction.
Yeah, happy investing and happy tax deductions, fellow investors.